each tragedy that I had to go through, I, put something inside me. And the strength I have today is because all that I went through. So there was a reason for everything. And at the time, we don't understand it. But like slowly, years later, things like years and years later, oh, that's why that happened. That it taught me this.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Shafer on Talks with Dr. Shafer. I'm a physician, mom, life coach, musician, author, publisher, and I'm passionate about using storytelling as a tool to help you reclaim your story and build your most beautiful future. Today, I'm so excited to invite a guest onto the show who has done just that. Naomi Mamiye is an entrepreneur and interior designer, the founder of Naomi Mamiye Interior Design, a firm focused on designing hospitals, rehabilitation centers, assisted living centers, drug rehabilitation centers, and reclaimed offices. Naomi Mamiye reclaimed her story after a difficult divorce Naomi Mamiye reclaimed her story after a difficult divorce to create a firm that is literally changing the face of healthcare to provide a more comfortable and healing environment. And she is now working with others to help them on their journey to creating their own fulfilling interior design business as well through her courses and mentorship. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us on Talks with Dr. Shafer today.
Hello. Hey.
I'm so glad to have you here, and I'm so excited to learn more about your story, because not only are you doing something that honestly we don't talk very much about, which is changing the literal face of our experience with healthcare. We talk a lot about the care, and we talk about insurance, we talk about medications and research. But at the end of the day, our experience that we have when we go into a clinic or a hospital is very impactful, and we don't talk a lot about what's behind that. First off, I'd like to hear about your personal journey and how you ended up in this field with this passion for interior design.
Okay. So I had some hard years, some hard teenage years where I had to deal with a lot of sick people. First, my mother got sick when I was 10 with melanoma. She died when I was 12. My father remarried. My stepmother didn't want me. I moved in with my grandparents. Then my grandmother that I was living with got breast cancer. So then I had moved to the second set of grandparents, and she got colon cancer, and then I moved back and forth, and it was not easy. In my young life, I had a loss of all 6 of my closest family members. So I ended up panicking and getting married at the first thing that came along because I wanted so desperately to have a home. So I made a mistake over there, but it was out of default. My situation put me in this predicament where I ran to the first thing that came along just for the security. And it was a mistake I paid dearly afterwards for. And some years later, I found myself divorced with 4 little kids, no family as backup to help me, no parents, no financial help, no emotional help. And I decided that I was always very creative, and I had this class going on, a neighborhood class going on in my house every week, and girls used to take pictures, and everyone used to tell me, "Oh, we love your house. Why don't you do this professionally?" And I was always creative, but I had little kids at home, and I never thought of going out to work. It never entered my mind. I needed to be there for them. Everybody with different bus schedules and coming home at different times. And this one likes this for dinner. That one likes that for dinner. It's just like a mom takes up a lot of hours to make each kid happy. Um, so when I was forced to go to work to bring in money, I said to myself, wait, all this time, everyone's telling me to go into interior design. Let me look into it.
Mm.
So I did my first couple of jobs for free. Now, I did not enjoy doing residential. I took to start anything that would come my way just to get my name out there. So I said no to nothing. And I really did not enjoy it because, unfortunately, I found that a lot of women can't make up their minds, and I was getting so frustrated. I was doing the same project over and over and changing again and again, and
Mm.
it was I gave a try commercial, and I loved it because there was just a flow to it. I didn't have to change a project over and over and over and go in circles, and there was an end to each project in sight. So, and then I was able to move on and take multiple projects. So I kind of found my niche by default. Um, I designed a restaurant, and they had a friend that had a lot of nursing homes, and he did me a favor, and it was one of my first projects. So he said, hey, he did me a favor back because I did his pizza store for free. He's like, I have this great designer for you. He returned the favor, and from there it just skyrocketed.
Mm.
I enjoyed what I did. There was like a purpose to it,
Mm.
and if a kind of I'm affecting so many people's lives.
Yeah.
When And actually, going back to my story, I'm rewinding a bit. When I told my ex-husband that I am going to open a design firm, he started laughing at me.
Mm.
He's like, nobody's going to pay you for your arts and crafts. So,
Mm.
and that really, it got me so mad. And then I forced I said, that's it. I'm going to prove him wrong, and I'm going to succeed. There's no there's no two there's no doubt about it. It's just I am going to succeed. I'm going to prove him wrong and everyone else. I tell the story all the time. I had one of my closest friends, and she also didn't believe in me.
Mm.
Um, and right when I made this decision, there was a design show in the Jacob Javits Center in the city, and I brought bags and knapsacks, and I filled everything up. I went booth to booth to booth because I needed to gather information and contacts. And she looked at me with these dragging these heavy bags, and she's like, who do you think you're going to design for? So and actually, what she did to me, actually, I did a little mind game with myself.
Mm.
Her name was Ricky, and I put a sign in my closet. Every time I opened my closet door, I put a sign there. It said, show Ricky, show Ricky what you can do. And so and still today, I tell people, every once in a while I get dragged down by life, and I I put reminders and little notes like taped to the wall to boost myself up. I'm not, it's, just because, you're successful doesn't mean you have bad days where you're just like, oh, you want to throw your hands up and give it all up. Till today, I still, this is like 20 years later, 20 something, even more years later, I still have little notes. I open the spice cabinet. There's a note over there that says dream big.
Mm.
It's just, there's little things that I continue using to boost myself up. It's a lifelong struggle, with all the curveballs that come along in life.
Yeah.
So
That's an amazing story. And Here on Talks with Dr. Shafer, we have these guest episodes with amazing people like yourself. And then once a week, we have what I call short talks, where we talk about ways that we can master our mindset and reclaim our story by essentially reclaiming our nervous system and the limiting beliefs and the thoughts that are kind of pulling the puppet strings, and cut those and start living our own lives. And you brought up some really interesting things that we've talked about recently, such as finding your motivation, right? You found your motivation. And in that moment, being able to take this person's attempts to put their limiting beliefs onto you to project how big you could be and how small you should stay, and just say, no, I'm not going to accept that. And I think actually a good motivator for me will be to remind me that they don't think I can. That for you, that was really motivating. I think that's really interesting. And we talk about we're going to be successful if we find our motivators. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And you bring up another really important thing, which is finding your people, finding your support. Because when you tell your dreams to people who envy you or don't support you, they even may say that they support you, but they may undermine you with little things they say or do, or not believing in you, can be really detrimental on your journey to success and building the life that you really want.
And I found the change in my mindset. You spoke about the change in my mindset really turned my whole life around. I make a joke that I spent years listening and crying to Air Supply songs, and just like, woe is me, my God hates me, my life is horrible, just one tragedy after the other, again, a cancer again, this cancer, that cancer. When is this going to end? All these all these things that did bring me down at the time, that I actually turned the focus of my mind to, just instead of looking at the past, I just said to myself one day, I said, you know what, rewinding, my last words to my mother, or rewinding what I should have said, could have done, is meaningless. I can't change the past. So why do I keep going there? I made a decision to only focus forward and stop dwelling in the past. And no matter how little I have, I still have so much more than someone else. So I just looked at like all the abundance I have. God gave me talent that I could use to make money. It was a mind shift. And as soon as I shifted my mind, my whole life, out of the negative to the positive, my whole life started to change. And I really feel it's true. People like, and even I was skeptical. Even I was like, oh, listening to this, the power of positivity, the law of attraction, positive thoughts bring positive, things to you. And I was just like, oh, this is such nonsense. But then after a while, I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to give it a try. I'm at rock bottom over here. Let's see if this really works. And it actually, and I am proof it actually does. For so many years, I was just crying and just so down, and why me? And now I just look at it as things I had to go through to build my personality, to build who I am today. I wouldn't be the strong person I am today. I would be this coddled little kid. I'd be this princess, and right now I look at myself as like a warrior. So all these things that I went through built me. This is who I am, and each tragedy that I had to go through, I put something inside me. So and the strength I have today is because all that I went through. So there was a reason for everything, and at the time we don't understand it, but like slowly, years later, we things like years and years later, oh, that's why that happened. That it taught me this. it gave me the resilience, for the the smaller things that come along that are difficult. I'm like, those no big deal.
Yeah.
We've dealt with more difficult.
I love this idea. You make me visualize this concept of, you don't have to understand it right now. This is really hard, but you do have to understand that the most important thing is that you keep going and you believe in yourself and you get through it. When you were talking about how many challenges you faced as a young woman that would be, enough to just overwhelm, I think, anyone going through those circumstances. And then I think about how your life transitioned once you really took back the reins of control over your life and you said, well, listen, I've got to get a job. It's going to be something meaningful. It's going to be something that I love. And you chose interior design. Was there any part of you that in taking back control of the narrative of your life that was actually trying to take back control of even how your environment looked to take back that control and to create a world that was full of beauty and functionality in a world that sometimes seemed to be so lacking of those?
As soon as I changed my mindset, I it was like a new film, a new glasses, the rose-colored glasses, as looking at everything negative as a positive. Um, all that I went through, there was a meaning to it. Making the best of what I have, being thankful for what I have, and knowing that more goodness is coming. I keep telling myself more good things are coming, more good things are coming. I constantly tell myself, and this keeps me actually like serene. It brings a calmness to my life. Okay. Knowing that there's nothing that I cannot overcome. After all these cancer deaths, I did a genetic tests. I have the BRCA1 gene. I had, and you know what? And I dealt with it. I had to have a mastectomy,
Mm.
preventative one, and I dealt with it. And all these things that came along, I just, because of the change in my mindset, I have a certain serenity. I used to be a little hothead when I was younger. I used to blow up at things, and now again, as soon as you change your perspective, your life changes, your whole environment, the vibe in the house, how you deal with the kids, the home, the husband, everything is just has it just brings on a whole different environment in the house. Thankfulness and positivity, serenity. It's just the whole, my whole life is it took a different feel to it. Instead of the ups and the downs and the this, everything is like, I'll deal with it.
Mm.
It'll be good. And I keep telling myself, it'll all work out. Why throw a little tantrum? Why scream and yell and kick when at the end it all works out?
Yeah.
Always, without a doubt, all works out. It might take a little time to figure out, but at the end, it all work out. And I actually, in working on myself, I once saw this speech on YouTube. It was a TED talk that, and I'll never forget it. She brought out such a good point. She said in her opinion, and I completely agree with her. She said the way to have a good life was being adjustable. Adjustability was the
Mm.
key to a good life. Adjusting to you're thrown a curveball, something happens in your life that you weren't expecting. Adjusting to the situation is how to get smoothly through life. And I instead of fighting it, instead of fighting when you can't change what just happened, you adjust to the situation and you think it through and you say, okay, this is the new reality. What can I do from here? How can I live with this? What could I rearrange, adjust, rethink, stay calm? And it's just that word just like rang a bell in my head as true.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of
Adaptability. What
gratitude.
did I
Yeah,
said adjustability?
adaptability. Yeah,
Adaptability. I
yeah.
said adjustability. Whoops. Adaptability. That's the word.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of an attitude of gratitude and how it has shifted your perception, which is really key because like you said, we question, well, if I just think positively, am I going to see the positive things around me? And I think in part we question that so deeply because if we're in a negative mindset, we see negativity around us. That's already answered our question as to whether or not it works because it's working when we're negative. Is that a place we want to stay? And it's going to work when we're positive, and it's going to work when we have gratitude because we'll just find more to be grateful for if we're already in a mindset of gratitude. So I think that's amazing. And we do understand that mental flexibility is a sign of not only mental agility but health, right? We need to be flexible. And just like with our body, when we start a new Pilates routine or start a new core exercise routine or what have you, when you start, if you are starting from zero and you haven't been doing those things, your body can feel quite inflexible. And you really need to work on stretching and strength building. And then all of a sudden, you can use your body physically in different ways. Mentally, it's the same. So I appreciate you so much sharing how important that was for you building your business and building your life to work on the mental flexibility, agility, and the mindset as that being so key because I couldn't agree with you more how important it is. Now, kind of transitioning into how that kind of overflowed into how you approach interior design and how you've built your business. How does this shift in your mindset affect how you approach an individual project, for example?
Right. So, um, so being in and out of hospitals so often, um, I came to look at things through the patient's perspective. So usually, if you're in a hospital um, or first time, let's say in a nursing home or assisted living, and you put into this new space, um, you're kind of scared.
Mm.
Okay, you're scared. It's when you're coming to a hospital, the environment there. I'm sure you're on nerves for sure. Okay, the environment. It's very important for it to be serene, soft colors, calming. Um, I like to use a lot of woods, bring back to nature, bring back to earth. And that I think is core. It's like when I go into when I go into an office and it's all in like earthy tones. It has me more relaxed than when I'm coming into an office that's the shocking electric blue. They picked that color for their logo, and then everywhere is this like this really poppy color that really it's in the wrong setting. I also take very much into consideration when I'm designing a building, let it be an assisted living or a drug rehab center, or where I am, okay? Because um, there's you can't design the same building going into New York City as you can in Kansas. So what people can relate to in a city building in Manhattan is definitely not what I can do in the hills of Ohio or Nebraska. It would be it would be completely out of place. So first I have to look at them before I start designing. I have to look at the location, demographics, who's coming there, um, and design for those people. Now, I get very upset when I see, let's say on Instagram or something, I see other designers, let's say, yeah, designing something in Nebraska that is not with the country feel that they need and that they're used to, meaning they would be putting their mother into a nursing home and it would be a shock. It wouldn't be like a homey feel or easy transition. Okay. So a lot of designers, they're so busy with their social media that they're designing for their Instagram and for their websites. So, I actually did, and not for the people. So I actually designed somewhere in Maryland, and the owner said, he said, don't, don't. When I first met him, he's like, don't design this place. Don't update this. It needed a whole refurbish. He said, don't update this place like the place a couple blocks over. He said the designer there made it so modern and cold with all whites and everything. He goes, we're getting older people. Everybody's coming to us. He's like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Do the opposite of them, because people are so unhappy. It's so sterile, but it looks great on a website. It looks great on an Instagram, but it's not good for the people.
Yeah.
And when I see this white, I'm like, besides that it's so it lacks warmth, like practicality. Like they're leaving the ownership with this design, and about 3 months everything's going to be black there. Everything's going to be black. It's going to be so filthy. I mean, even with the best cleaning crew, you can't get this white back to white. And so I definitely think that it's very important when designing healthcare to consider who's going in there, hospitals, things that would calm the nerves. Everybody's uptight. Everybody's on edge there. Yeah, and all the natural elements tend to help that. So that's usually the way I go, and in the soft, neutral palettes of nature, I think, do best.
Yeah. And again, it makes me think about all of the transitions that you experienced as a young person, as a child, and how we can at least control the environment. We can't control that someone's sick and going into the hospital. Can't control that someone needs to be in assisted living, but we can create an environment that is in alignment with something that feels inviting and even close to home potentially, that's honoring the area. I think that's really amazing and important. Having worked in many hospitals over my lifetime, there has been historically this trend of this very white, and I think that the idea was white is clean, almost like white coats. Well, anyone who's worn a white coat knows, one,
The
they're
cuffs turn
fomites.
black real
They
fast.
get dirty, the sleeves get dirty, everything gets dirty, and it's a constant battle. But more than anything, they're fomites, right? They're just covered in germs and things. So for myself, when seeing patients, I really preferred actually to not wear a white coat, because you're not washing it every day, or at least most people aren't washing that white coat every day, and so it's just serving to just go from room to room and bringing germs along with it. So I never liked that, and white has always felt really quite cold to me. And like you said, it's hard to keep clean too. And it's so important when you're a patient and when you're a member of the team and you're working so hard to keep a clean and healthy space. If it doesn't look clean from, light floors that are getting scuffed all the time, and, you can't affect change on that every single clinic visit. Someone's not going to come in and buff the floors. It can make things appear in a way that doesn't make you feel comfortable as a patient. As you said, when you're already going in, you're on edge, you're feeling uncomfortable. It's not your home environment. You're getting healthcare. So it's a beautiful thing to create spaces that will maintain how hygienic they are and how hygienic they look and how comfortable they are. And I wanted to mention, I want your experience of this because during COVID, when everyone was doing home renovations, I don't know if you noticed this trend and what your feeling on it was, but the COVID kitchen that was white, white, white with the granite, with the gray, you probably know even the name of the granite that they were using with the gray marbling in it. Um, it was really interesting to me because it was the opposite of warmth. And I know a lot of people did it and a lot of people love it. I'm not hating on their kitchens, but for me, I was, okay, we're home, we're stuck home. Let's create just warmth and, have the games on the kitchen counter and the books on the kitchen counter and learn to cook together. Let's take advantage of this time. The last thing I wanted was to kind of whitewash the environment, but I wonder if in part it was this attempt to create this hospital environment of being sterile that we were all
Oh,
so
that's so
used to.
interesting. I never thought of that. I
Yeah.
never put two and two together. That's very interesting. I
I
never thought of that.
I always wondered about it too because it was such a movement.
Everyone was doing the same thing.
Everyone had these brand new white kitchens,
Mhm.
and it was really fascinating for me to watch because it was the opposite of what I wanted, but maybe it's because I came from that healthcare setting and I didn't want that in my kitchen. But, we as a world were wanting things to be safe and clean. So that was really interesting. When you are asked to tackle something really, really big, like a hospital, what is your approach to that to make sure that you're not only creating an aesthetic that makes patients feel good, but also is making sure to help with efficiency and help with the experience of the employees? Because what I find having worked in so many hospital systems is what tends to happen is, you have one older building and it gets added on to, and you've got this stairwell that's really hard to find, and you've got, it's all kind of convoluted and things don't match. And it's just not necessarily that functional for the people who work there. How do you overcome that when you are tackling a project?
Okay, so for the place to look cohesive, if it's like they started with a small hospital and then, like as usual, added on another wing, another floor, and it's just like it's like ends up Lego.
Yeah.
I try. I try to take from the original building some colors, something from the original building. So when you're walking through, it's not such a shock where you say like, "Oh, that's from 1980s. This is from now." I need to marry each other, so it looks like there's a flow to it. Then like so many people are like, "Oh, I want to be in the old building. I don't want to be in the old building. I want to be in the new building." They get upset that their room is in the old.
Yeah.
So it's especially older people. Um, older people regress, and they turn into, when I do dementia units, they turn into like little kids again. And so long time ago, I had an owner that wanted to do, like for the patient rooms, 3 different palettes. Okay, so and keep on repeating the purple, the blue, the green, the purple, the blue, the green as you go down the hallway. Switch it up a little bit. But then, um what ended up happening was, like a little child, dementia patients, I don't want to be in this. I want the purple room. I want the green room. And then people started fighting over which rooms and which colors they wanted. We were like, what is going on here? This is when I first started. I was like, that everyone gets the same. Everybody gets the same. It had
Yeah.
so you have to, it's very important in what you're designing. Who's coming? Who is there? Is it pediatric? Is it, I just did fertility? Is it, like I did a fertility center. It's so, like also the coming there very on edge. Who is coming there? Everybody needs to be catered. Each wing needs their little touch, that that'll click for them to make them comfortable. And this fertility wing, I actually did a whole wall mural, like with like plants growing, flowers, like it's just a growth and rebirth, and it's kind of psychological in the
Yeah.
background over there. But it's the environment really has to match who's coming,
Yeah.
who's in there. It's very important to know the exact the waiting room, who it's accommodating, and to put those little final little sparkles. The kids, keep it a neutral palette, but drop in a little bit of lime green, a little bit of spunk for them, a little bit of the kids. Each each to each, it's its own touch.
I love that. And I mean, that's the expertise and the gentleness and the respect for the environment that you bring. And that's so valuable because for everyone, not just for patients, but also for the people who work there who are serving patients, right? Their environment will
Right.
affect
And
how they're showing
I
up, how
think
they're
it's very
experiencing.
important when you were saying,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, that I forgot to mention that, um, like when we were doing a, an an old building, an old hospital, the budget always goes to the lobby first, then the patient
Mm.
rooms, and then last to the employee lounge. Okay, and I always tell them, no, 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 no. These people are making your place what it is. Your
Hmm.
stars that you're getting is because of the staff. You have to make your staff lounge, your staff kitchenette, your staff, you have to make it 5-star. You have to make it as beautiful as the lobby, because that's your appreciation to the people that work there. Okay. Second, it gives them, it makes them feel it's a beautiful building, but you left out, their lounge for last. It makes them feel unappreciated. That's
Right.
it's very important for them to feel good and positive, and go out there, with a good attitude and happy, and you have to keep them in a happy environment.
Yeah, they're spending a third of their life in this environment. And so it will have a huge impact on how they're showing up at work and how they're feeling. And I love that you encourage that because I think, honestly, when we look at healthcare, that's a huge issue that healthcare is facing right now is employment satisfaction. And it is having effects in the here and now on the industry. And I think even more so as time goes on, it will have a greater and greater effect. So starting with something as important as the environment and encouraging hospital systems and these centers and clinics you work in to do that, that's a wonderful thing that you're doing for the people who work there. So I really applaud that. That's wonderful. And we know that it really, really affects people.
Yeah, it makes a big
Are
difference.
It does. Now, are there any projects that hit especially close to your heart and that you really enjoyed working on the most over the years?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I enjoy working on the most, and it's not projects. I do, let's say, I think clinic is the wrong word to use. I do like a master class for aspiring young designers that want to get into the business. Okay, it's a training. I don't charge. I sit there. If somebody wants thinking of becoming an interior designer, should they go into it? Should they not? I sit down with them. I explain to them everything that it entails. If they want to, if they see that it's a right fit, I connect them to all the vendors. Um, help set them up with I show them how to set up their own websites. I mean, we're talking from A to Z. I help them start businesses of their own. So that is what I am most proud of, most happy, that brings me the most satisfaction, is helping other people that, let's say, were in the situation that I was in, like lost, confused. What do I do? How do I make money? Um, I help put them on their feet, and that's what I I I think is would be my biggest accomplishment is like when I see all these designers and I see what they create and I'm like, oh, I trained her. I was like, I'm so proud of her. I love it. It's just like I feel so good when I see their creations and I spend endless hours with them. I have them shadow me, watch me work. I help put them help put their first few projects together in the background. I guide them and that's what gives me the most satisfaction from it all.
I love that. I love that ongoing design work. There's designing for clients and designing for hospitals and clinics, and then there's helping people design their businesses and their lives to represent them and create that beautiful future. And again, that's what we are all about here on Talks with Dr. Shafer. So I love your passion for that and your passion for creating these warm, welcoming spaces for people on their health journey. That's just fantastic. How can people learn more about what you do and how to connect with you if they are interested in learning more about interior design and taking one of your courses?
Okay, so I am on Instagram, Naomi Mamiye Design. I have my website, Naomi Mamiye Design, and there's my contact information over there. I am happy to train anybody. My doors are open over here. Happy to train anybody that's thinking of going into the business, and I help in multiple ways, whatever I can do. Um, to help them, guide them, see if it's the right fit, and then if it is, afterwards, it's just like even this morning, I had somebody, an old student of mine from years ago, asked me for ideas for them because they feel like they were boxed in and they wanted something out there, something different. Here, something new, and I actually they threw some things at them that they never even thought of to look into. So it's it's been a journey.
That sort of mentorship is priceless, and that relationship building and connection. I mean, that's really what we're all here trying to do when we're building something really meaningful and creating these spaces for people and creating these relationships. So I absolutely love what you're doing, and I'm so appreciative of you coming and sharing your story and your passion here on Talks with Dr. Shafer. Thank you so much.
Sure, happy to help anybody that needs it.
Thank you so much, storytellers, for joining us as well. I can't wait to see you on our upcoming short talk where we help you with mastering your mindset. Thank you so much for being here. Stay safe and take care. I'll talk to you soon.